So why do I talk about leadership so much? It's very simple. Everything when it comes to teams and people and organizations comes down to leadership. I love in this book, Extreme Ownership, where they talk about that there are no bad teams, just bad leaders. That's a tough message to hear if you're in a position of leadership. But that's why I talk about leadership so much, because everything comes down to leadership. Leaders have the ability to change anything that they want to change. It is in their control. It is in their authority. It is within their power. And if things are not working the way you want them to work, it is your job to look at the situation and figure out what needs to change. So leaders, that's a pretty heavy message. The question is, are you looking at getting feedback and figuring out what needs to change? I want to specifically talk about culture in this context, because culture, everybody has a culture. Some are good, some are not so good. The question is your culture intentional? Is it the culture that you want to have? Because there is a law of attraction when it comes to culture. And the intent of culture is to attract and repel. And the people that you have within your organization today are there because of the kind of culture that you have encouraged, the kind of culture that you have enforced, the kind of culture that you have motivated, incentivized, however you want to look at it. You have either created an intentional culture or you have allowed a default culture. And if you are not happy with the culture that you have, it's because of what you have allowed. So I encourage you to look very specifically at your culture, because if you're not happy with the people on your team, it's because you are not enforcing or reinforcing an appropriate culture. And the whole idea of why leadership is so important, especially as it relates to culture, is that leaders define values. And those values guide behaviors, and those behaviors shape culture. If you ever wonder where culture comes from, it comes from leadership who are either defining in a very intentional way values. But if you don't define values, you're basically saying anything goes, in which case any behavior goes. So leaders, it's up to you. If you want to attract the right kind of people, the law of attraction, culture will attract people who want to be a part of that kind of an organization. Culture will repel the wrong people who don't like the kind of culture that you have. Either way, it will result in a team. And if you're not happy with your team, you've got to look at yourself and make some changes. Hard message to hear today as a leader, but the ball is in your court. Attract the right people by creating the right culture.